O God of creation, direct our noble course. Hello Nigerians, welcome to Talk and Do with CPDI. This program is a program where we talk Nigeria as it is and do Nigeria as it ought to be. My name is Henry Deben, and here with me is a noble, amiable, passionate Nigerian who is a true good citizen who has been in the forefront of transition and transformation of Nigeria into the new Nigeria of our dream, and is a principal co-convener of New Nigeria is Possible. Please, sir, introduce yourself to the viewers.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Chunga Leslie Sander, and like you've said, I'm one of the co-conveners of the New Nigeria is Possible vision, which is a group of people that have come together who believe in Nigeria and who are doing everything within our capacities as ordinary citizens to play our own part in bringing about the inevitable, unstoppable transformation of Nigeria. So I'm happy to be here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You are very much welcome. We are glad to have you. You know, we don't have you all the time, but this time around, I think the moon and the sun are all in support of your presence today. So thank you so much. So this program is produced with support from the New Nigeria is Possible vision. And today we are discussing section 17 of chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as altered. However, before we go ahead with this discussion, and we would like to have an understanding or insight to what ordinary Nigerians in the streets, what their views and opinions about this section. So please stay tuned, be here with us.
Welcome to the Vox Pop segment of Talk and Do with CPDI. Today we are in Dutse community in Gariki, Abuja, and we will be engaging Nigerians and asking Nigerians about what they think and know about section 17 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which spells out the social objectives of the Federation. You want to know more? Stay tuned to find out. I would like to know if you have read the Nigerian Constitution before and if you know what section 17 of the Constitution talks about.
I've not. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen a copy of the Nigerian Constitution and I flipped through it. I may not have a complete knowledge of it, but I know I've flipped through it and I have said one or two things about the Constitution.
I've never read everything. I've never read anything about the Constitution, but I've been talking, maybe I would like to have a copy of it because I used to listen to some radio station that they are advising people to, supposed to know the Constitution of your country.
Okay, so basically, section 17 of the Constitution defines the social objectives of Nigeria, and it says that the state's social order is based on freedom, equality, and justice. So I would like to know if you've experienced or if you are experiencing freedom, equality, and justice in Nigeria.
There is nothing like I don't see freedom. I don't see freedom at all, because I think before we have freedom, a little freedom. Let me just say it this way: a little freedom before, some years back. But now there is no freedom. You cannot move free like before. Before we used to, as in when you travel, go village, we used to sleep outside during the heat season. We used to sleep outside, but now you cannot even dare for you to even sleep for your room safe. You are not safe. Not to talk of so there is no freedom.
Yeah, I've experienced both, because at least freedom of I'm free to sit in front of my domain. I'm free to go to markets, freedom to walk about and get what I want.
In fact, I never even see the freedom safe. Nothing like a freedom where we are living now for this Nigeria now. Because even we talk about the justice, nothing like a justice for Nigeria for moment now where we are. For moment now we are now, nothing like that.
But before now, was there freedom, equality, and justice in Nigeria?
For some years past, there's a little freedom for us because you can live in lunch. Because even the time of hustling, when you are hustling, you can know what you are ending end of the day. But now, even though you are hustling now, it just be like you are pouring water for rock for now. Because things is not going smoothly at all. To even end the what you can able to feed at time is by grace.
the way I would look at freedom may be different from another person's way of looking at freedom. Talking about religious freedom, in some parts of the country, some people have total freedom. They could do what they want to do, maybe down south, but in some parts of the country, like up north, looking at what happens in Plateau State and some other places, you would actually see that people cannot express themselves wholesome. Looking at Northeast, for example, too, we have some cases of oppression. So for me, the freedom is a relative term. I could be experiencing a little bit of freedom here, and somebody somewhere else may not be experiencing that freedom. And when you say freedom, you need to define what kind of freedom you're actually talking about. So, but I just gave you a whole overview of what I think.
What about equality? Do you feel there is equality in Nigeria? Have you experienced equality in your interaction with other Nigerians or within the Nigerian state?
Yes, let me say some people are more treated more than others. Of course, I experienced many ways, because I remember when I wrote my first JAMB, I know I got 241 that have warranted me to get admission there to ABSU. But my result was turned down because I don't have godfather in the school and nobody is there to help out. But I saw people that have won something. They got admission. They even finished before me.
Oh, you're saying that you scored
241.
But those who scored lower than you got admitted into.
Got admitted, and they school there without any, because I believe they are more free. So I discovered that nobody is there to speak for me, so they are being treated more than I.
Okay, so based on that experience, you feel that equality is not really
so some people are treated more honorable than others, even when they merit what they want to.
Okay, what about justice? Have you experienced injustice in Nigeria before, or do you feel that there is justice and fair play in Nigeria?
I think you would look at it from a whole perspective. Talking about justice in this country, we are just like, if you put it in my own kind of perspective of George Orwell's book, it's like an Animal Farm kind of, where some citizens are more equal than others. So talking about justice, sometimes you see the justice for the poor is different from the justice for the rich. So in my opinion, justice can be bought in this country sometimes. It's quite unfortunate, but that is the Nigeria we find ourselves.
For justice, I can't even know what am I going to say about the justice self.
Why?
Thank you. Because how our things is going now. You see, like now, my brother, you have a little truth. You have a truth. When you see where you have a problem, you take somebody where you get justice. It's very difficult for you to get a good justice. Maybe that person is capable enough past you. When you carry his matter to where you can able to find a justice, the next thing, end of the day, when that person comes, the matter will change. But for the first day where you are there, where you go there, where you tell them, they'll say, by the special grace, everything will be justice. You will get justice for this matter.
Only justice that I can say, justice is for rich. If you are rich, you will see justice. But poor people, there is no justice for poor people.
I would like to ask, because that section 17 also talks about government actions shall be humane. So I'd like to ask you, could you think of one or two government actions, programs that have responded positively to the sufferings and pains of Nigerians?
Time of Obasanjo, fuel was around 65 naira. I know that. Then this man came later, Yaradua. Still, things was good then. But when the body came, so first started increasing money.
But what did Obasanjo Yaradua do that reduced the pain and suffering of Nigerians then?
This was no cost then.
When you talk about government actions being humane, you see, the Nigerian state is a very complex state, in my opinion, and government has not really been fair to we the citizenries, especially the middle class and the lower class. So government programs have mainly been for a targeted kind of people. Programs that will benefit people mostly go to the rich. Most of the things they even say they subsidize for us, you discover that the rich are the ones that benefit from them. Even the cash, the program they did for the market women, money transfer or whatever, you discover that trader money, excuse me, you discover that there were a lot of insertions, names were put, and so many things that allegedly that you cannot really expect that a government should do. So when you talk about government being humane, I think every action the government wants to take from now henceforth should be very transparent and should be grassroots oriented, should target the real people, and just like my mentor Peter Obi would always say, it should be a very, very cost-effective approach. In that way, there's accountability and everything goes the way it's supposed to go, and everybody will be happy. If the rich are happy and the poor are not happy, we are actually breeding a generation that are going to rise up one day, which may lead to anarchy. If the poor are happy and the rich are happy, Nigeria will be a place that all of us will be happy with, and it can actually accommodate all of us. So I think government should actually look at programs they will do that will benefit the generality of the populace. That's my opinion about the whole thing.
Thank you and welcome back to Talk and Do with CPDI. Well, Leslie, you've heard our people on the streets, our young guys, and what they've said, I think is actually a general reflection of what Nigerians, think about this section. And I also want to ask you, what proportion of Nigerians do you think that have read this constitution, even if not all?
Okay, no, very few. If you ask me, maybe it's just the lawyers that know the constitution. But Nigerians who are not lawyers, very few have read the constitution. Maybe they saw a copy somewhere, they browsed through, like one of the gentlemen was saying, that he has browsed to it. But there's been no concerted effort by government to get people to know what the constitution is all about, except maybe a few civil society organizations who try to go and to educate people and all of that stuff. So if you ask me, I don't have the numbers, but very tiny portion of Nigerians actually have read the constitution.
And would that make them very confident and fitted in the circumstances and the situation Nigeria is in? Because sometimes you see so many people trying to argue and the constitution Nigeria must be changed, this and that. And you're wondering, what section have they read? Even though there are some areas we think that some gray areas that we need to develop. Initially, I had this impression that almost every Nigerian must have read that to have that kind of. But I'm coming to, and I also thank CPDI. I also have to confess, please forgive me. I have not known constitution as much as I know now, and I've joined this program and started trying to read them in sections and word by word. Now let's go to what they think, the opinions that they share. The first one has to do with, of course, we'll be reading them in English. Line by line, and we'll try to, discuss on it, share our views and the situation in Nigeria, if the applications and the implementation, if it actually is working, and probably just some insights from what the Vox Pop, the Nigerians have. So
can I quickly say something? You made a point, I think, that we should amplify. That the more Nigerians know the constitution, there's a greater energy, power, strength, and confidence that it will give you. It's totally, when you read certain parts of it, it just makes you, it emboldens you. You know your rights. You know that what government starts and stops, where the role of citizen comes in. So it will give us more power. So I will encourage every Nigerian, whatever you can do to lay your hands upon the constitution and read it. It's available everywhere. Soft copies online. And read it. It will really benefit all of us. Give us more confidence to be able to play our roles as citizens, because there's the role of the citizens and there's the role of the government. If the citizens don't play their own, government will fail.
The roles and the rights of the citizens, and it also help you to manage your expectations from the leaders or from the government, to know what they are supposed to be doing, and also what you're supposed to be doing to support them as well. So, and I also want to advise viewers, please, if you need a copy of the Constitution, write to CPDI. They would send one to you in case if you don't have anyone anywhere. Okay, don't ask for the hard copies. I'm not sure they have the money for the print, but I wouldn't know where to get that anyway. I would love to know where we can get the hard copies. Maybe keep in our libraries once in a while, one can go through that. However, let's go into the main discussion. So we are looking at section 17 of the Constitution, and the title here is Social Objectives, which says the state's social order is founded on the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. Freedom, equality, and justice. How do these things play out in our country?
Okay, I will answer that question from two perspectives.
Okay.
I'll start from the perspective of the people. All right, if you notice from the Vox Pop, there was a lot of complaints. Of course, because if you talk about freedom, the Constitution spells it out, but in practice, there's not a lot of freedom. There are places you can't travel to. There are villages where they are terrorized day and night. They've been sacked from their villages. You know, equality is another issue. There's a lot of inequality in our nation. You know, and then also justice, which is very, very glaring. There's been a lot of injustice. You know, both for personal, interpersonal dealings, and then in the injustice meted out against the people of Nigeria by the judiciary, which supposedly is the last hope of the people. In recent times, they have done everything to crush the hope of the people. So that's one perspective. You know, the other perspective is that these attributes of freedom, equality, and justice, I want to introduce in hope now and confidence. They are not attributes created by man. They are eternal attributes that have been given by the Almighty. And when I mention the Almighty now, I'm not bringing religion into the matter. There's something called spirituality. You know, we all come from somewhere. So these are eternal attributes. You can only break them for a while, but you cannot destroy them. You cannot stop them forever. So that simply means that when we hook up to the strength, the eternal strength of these values, we can be able to work with them to be able to achieve true freedom, equality, and justice in Nigeria. And you know, that's our driving force in the new Nigeria is possible. All things are possible. We do not believe in impossibility. So we know that what's the wind driving our sail, the force pushing us forward, is that truth that all things are possible. That the new Nigeria is already a reality that it will come to pass in the physical. So this is just to encourage Nigerians, even though the Constitution spells it out and we are not yet experiencing it. A time is coming, which is why CPDI and us are doing this program, to be able to raise the consciousness and awareness of Nigerians to the provisions of the Constitution, so that it can give us the energy and the confidence to get up and do what we ought to do. I said something earlier on. There are two parts to Nigeria: the government and the people. If the government play their own part and the people are not playing their own part, there's going to be an issue. But if the people understand, wake up, truly understand their rights and powers, there's an energy it will give to the collective consciousness of the Nigerian people that will help us to properly engage with government and get government to begin to do the right thing. You know the popular saying, all of us know it, you know, power belongs to the people. That's one. The other one also, definition of democracy: government of the people, by the people, for the good of the people. It's not been happening, does not mean it will not happen. Nothing lasts forever, especially not injustice and evil. They do not last forever. This is the contribution of CPDI and the New Nigeria is Possible vision to the movement, our own contribution to making Nigeria a better place, because we know that as the people wake up, as the people become conscious of who we are, of our powers and abilities, definitely a change is going to come to pass.
So I want to look at this perspective as well. You know, when you hear such eternal values, like you mentioned, freedom, equality, and justice, if you read that in the Constitution and the way it's stated, it sounds like this is what the government will give me as a citizen. Yes, which is true. Government needs to ensure that I am free, I can move anywhere, do everything freely. Government will also ensure that there is fairness in dealings in terms of treatment. You don't have to, you know, show some certain preference to certain sections or tribes or over others, and non-justice. You know, if I have any sense of injustice or if I'm treated badly, there should be a section, you know, of the government that I will go to. The government will grant me fairly. The same thing about fairness. Now, this is about government, and this is the average thinking of every Nigerian. Now, I want to change the perspective. That once we say that social order is founded on freedom, justice, and equality, it also means that you as a citizen will ensure that if you're a Nigerian, your actions should also reflect these three qualities. Not government giving to you, you also give others. So if I'm a CEO of a company, even if I'm living in just my neighborhood for anything, every action, everything I'm doing, the first question or the first thing I should ask myself is that how does my action or how do my actions provide freedom for my neighbors, equality to my neighbors, and make sure that they all have sense of justice the way I treat them. This is what makes us citizens. So when you talk about citizens, it's a very large, broad word which comprises both the ordinary men on the street, the judges, the governors, the presidents. We are all citizens. Now, when you not talk about leadership roles, these are roles and positions. So when we talk about this, I just want to bring that perspective that think of this as something you do to your fellow citizens. Give them freedom, whether you're an ordinary citizen, whether you are a leader, whether you're a president, wherever you are. If this is our social order, which we've accepted as a sovereign state, it's also on us to make sure to ensure that these values, you know,
are practiced by everybody.
Not just waiting for the government to give you. So thank you for that perspective. So let's look at the second one. The second subsection says, in furtherance of the social order, every citizen shall have equality of rights, obligations, and opportunities before the law. I think it's a way of trying to step down equality.
As we all know, in Nigeria, over many years, and especially increasingly so in recent times, you know, this has been bastardized.
Seriously.
You know, totally bastardized.
I agree with you.
You know, one of the provisions at the beginning of the Constitution is that the provisions of the Constitution shall be final and binding on everybody. And when you look at that and you see what the leaders are doing, it just baffles you. Is it that they don't know the Constitution and what the Constitution says they should be doing? So there is something that we can do as a people, which is what you mentioned a few moments ago. When we begin to do the right thing towards one another, there's a way to bring a force upon governments, because when the people treat each other with respect, with justice, with fairness, consideration, when we do that to ourselves, there's a way to bring some form of order upon the government. So that's very important. The truth is that if you know how somebody has behaved for a long time, you get to a point you're not expecting anything better from that person anymore.
You just get used to it.
Like they say in English, you know, you can take a horse to the river, you can't force
to drink.
You know. So this is just to say that we as a people, we are our own hope. We are our salvation.
That's what it is.
We are our saviors.
Absolutely.
Honestly. And we must wake up. And part of waking up, at the risk of sounding like repeating something, we must get to know what the provisions of the Constitution are. It will empower us. I know there are many people who say, oh, this is wrong with the Constitution, that is wrong with the Constitution. But there are enough truths and provisions in the Constitution to make Nigeria one of the greatest nations on earth. If we do the right thing with the present Constitution, there's no stopping us.
I agree with you.
And so if the people who are supposed to do the right thing are not doing, the worst thing you can do is give up. Is to fold your arms and cry. No, this is our only fatherland. If there are people who have options to run away somewhere, you know, most Nigerians can't run away anywhere.
No,
so we must take a stand. We must fight for this nation to become the great nation that is in its destiny to be. We must wake up. There are nations that the people stood up, you understand, and government had to cave and bow and give the people what they wanted. So in our own turn, in our Nigeria now, it's our turn. We must wake up. We must know what the Constitution empowers us to be and to do and have.
I will still come to the question about, is actually the reality, that the Constitution says this. To what extent does it affect any average Nigerian that knows that this is what the Constitution says? Are we trying to do anything about the Constitution? Even for this second one I read now that says, every citizen shall have equality of rights, obligations, and opportunities before the law and any other place. You will still go to some cities and communities, you find some statements like, this guy, is it our person? What is he doing here? Is he an indigene? Or people will commit something, you say, this on our own, live and live. Where you come from? You know, and you start maltreating the person because the person is not an indigene.
That area.
And you still want to complain that the government is not doing it right or treating your community right. Even starting from the little. So I like the way you are trying to bring it from the government perspective, but I try to still bring it down to the ordinary citizen. We the people. We are the government.
We are the government.
The government, the president was sometimes an ordinary citizen before he becomes the government. And I'm still sure, before he becomes the leader or ruler, and I'm still sure that all of us, like my common say all the time, he who cannot obey the traffic light as a driver.
As a citizen. Yeah.
As a driver, let me be specific. He won't obey the constitution as the president. So it's not about when you get there. So the good thing about us knowing these things is knowing what makes you a full Nigerian and a citizen of Nigeria. And put that in you. Start seeing it as in, this is my responsibility. You know, and you see some other persons as this is his right to demand respect and equality and justice from me. Now, we're also talking about this mention about before the law or in the law code. Yeah, before the law.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with our judiciary system now. I don't know. I have one little experience. I wouldn't go into much detail, but it got to the point that the only place they say I could find justice is to sue the person to court, and I lost hope. I had to cancel it there. What does it make me as? I know.
Yeah, those things have happened too many times.
And this is the person I know that it's more whether financially, economically stable before me, and he was even hoping that I would take it to court.
So that he can.
So I'll know that the best wisdom I played there was to save my money. So if I read this,
and maybe it's not even saving your money, they might end up turning you into the guilty one.
So where is the justice before the law comes?
No, this thing you're saying is very important about the fact that we should not just expect justice from the government alone.
Yeah.
We also should treat each other with respect, with justice, with love, courtesy. There's this example I give. You know, in Nigeria, we have federal government, we have state government, we have local government. Now, it is clear that those three arms of government have failed us. Because there's a missing element. It's called self-government.
Self-government.
Now, when you have self-government, that's when you do the right thing, not because there's a policeman watching you to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Not because somebody will catch you.
Not because the law says so.
Because you are a law unto yourself. And that's something that we must explore as Nigerians. The power of self-government is the nature of God inside of us. Again, when I mention God, please, I'm not talking religion.
Very well.
It takes God to be a human being. That means the life, the capacity, the ability, the attributes of God are innate in us. They are inborn in us. When people say, oh, God, devil, God is the one inside of us.
Inside of us,
And the person who call the devil, I've never seen a devil.
I've seen one.
But to go to the issue of self-government, each of us must discover that there is truth, integrity, justice, the ability to do the right thing is resident inside each and every one of us. Is there. So we must wake it up, because there are Nigerians that we respect. There are Nigerians that we know over these many years, they've done right, they've lived right. They are doing the right thing at the right time. You know, so if those Nigerians have the ability to live right that way, nothing stops us. We still have the same capacity that any Nigerian warrior emulation has. We have the same thing. Okay. So we must activate that.
So let's look at the second one. That's the B. It says, the sanctity of the human person shall be recognized and human dignity shall be maintained and enhanced. My word, my phrase there, my key phrase there is human dignity. Maintained and enhanced.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you see the way human beings are treated in this country?
It's
so what will make you to feel that you are safer in another man's country than in your own country?
Well, the level of injustice and dehumanization by Nigerians, meted out on Nigerians, by government, meted out on Nigerians. That's why some people think it's better for them to go and seek a better life outside. But it's abominable, to say the least. Some of the atrocities that are being perpetrated by governments against the people and like people against each other. But there's something I want to read out. Chapter 1. It says, supremacy of the Constitution. This Constitution is supreme, and its provisions shall have binding force on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So this is the paradox that blows my mind. I said something earlier on. It may seem as if I'm repeating myself, but you see, you would expect that our leaders have a copy of the Constitution. They know it and they read it. And this is one of the very first things you will read in the Constitution. And it says, the provisions of this Constitution shall be binding upon all persons and authorities in Nigeria. Please read what you read again just now.
The sanctity of the human person shall be recognized and human dignity shall be maintained and enhanced.
You see? So just imagine that we practice this. There is a power that leaders have. When leaders do the right thing, it cascades to the people and the people follow suit. But when it's not happening, that's when I say we have to help ourselves. And like you said, when we begin to do the right thing one towards another, it really helps us to go forward as a nation. Because there's a role that citizens have that is very, very powerful. But the truth is that we have bastardized this Constitution. One is just, it's like each day you wake up to hear a worse atrocity when you thought that the worst has already happened.
Let me even add this next article to what you just said, that governmental actions shall be humane. Governmental actions shall be humane.
But the very opposite.
Was there any kind of considerations in some of the policies that they just threw out?
None.
Considering what people are going through, you go ahead to worsen and you said they should make sacrifice. And they should endure. Meanwhile, you guys are the upper class or the elite. We've not seen any single sign of trying to make sacrifices for the poor, for the less privileged. If all of us should have the same, treated equally, like we said, in terms of both social resource access, social treatments, every other thing. So if government actions should be humane,
nobody will be crying in Nigeria.
I think the obvious thing we are getting out of this is that, the first time I read through this, I actually believed, or let me say, I was moved to believe that this constitution does not belong to Nigeria.
I'm not surprised.
To be honest. The only thing that, just when they mention Nigeria, Federal Republic of Nigeria, I said, okay, but there is nothing in terms of implementations or actions or applications that show, like you mentioned, that will show that this our good citizens actually are familiar with this constitution. So one is that either you are familiar, it's still not their business. One of the guys on the street in the previous Vox Pop that they said that it looks like people are coming in with their own constitution to government. I'm very honestly. As if you are coming in, you come with your own constitution, with your own agenda. It's not this agenda. Nothing concerns you with it. Because nothing absolutely here that shows that these things are being practiced, both from the side of the government and the elite, and even the ordinary people on the streets. Okay?
It's this inhumaneness that has made it possible for a new word to be added to the Nigerian dictionary. Japa syndrome. Nobody knew Jackpot some years ago, but because government actions and policies have been anti-people.
Okay, I agree with you.
You know, I mean, you know all the pains people go through to be able to go to another man's land. You know, so it's
So looking at the next one, D says exploitation of human or natural resources in any form whatsoever for reasons other than the good of the community shall be prevented. Any form of exploitation of our natural resources, you know what is going on. E, under this section says the independence, impartiality, and integrity of courts of law, and easy accessibility, therefore, shall be secured and maintained. Independency, impartiality, integrity of the courts of law. Is this for Nigeria?
In constitution, but not in practice. It's there in the constitution, but it's not being practiced. It's being abysmally abused left, right, and center. You know, so it's terrible, and it's something that must stop, something that must change. You know, there was a time the judiciary had some real respect. I mean, you look at that whole system and order. I mean, there was this, you know, prestige and honor they had. But what certain members of the judiciary have done, especially the those giving the judges have done in recent times, have really smeared the name and the
it has broken our hearts.
The image of the judiciary. But all hope is not lost.
No, not at all.
You know, all hope is not lost.
Not at all.
You know, when you talk about the fact that independence, impartiality, and integrity was maintained for everybody. You know, that's why they used to say justice is blind. You know, so it doesn't care who is coming. It's blind to whoever you are. Just know that based on the evidence presented, you give a ruling that is fair, that is just, so that the parties will live knowing that justice has been done. But it's not happening. Very few people get true justice in this nation today. And that's a crying shame.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think, okay, so perhaps we end it here and just look at all we've discussed. What are the action plans? How do you think we can get better with all these, you know, enlightenments and the discussions we've had, knowing fully well we are far away from this constitution? Like I always ask, if this constitution belongs to Nigeria, or do we have another one that we've not seen? So what do you think that would be the best way that we can help get these elements, these values, these provisions in the constitution into the hearts of an average Nigerian, and also help our leaders and help all of us to start living out, because this is who we are. When you mention Nigeria, this is just like our own in terms of holy book, just put it that way. So anybody who's not abiding by this shouldn't be in Nigeria. It's not about your passport, it's not about your ID card or whatever, or your name. But these things in practice, what could someone see in someone and say, this guy is a true Nigerian, going by the provisions of Nigeria? So what do you think? Okay,
one of the things is already being done, and I must celebrate it.
Okay.
Which is what CPDI is already doing in setting up this provision where the Constitution is being talked about. That's giving enlightenment to the people. So that is very commendable. You know, before now, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody doing it. So we're really grateful to what CPDI is doing. This initiative is very powerful, and our prayers is that it will continue to grow and proliferate. And then that these recordings, you know, are made available. It gets into the hands of Nigerians everywhere. You know, thank God for social media today, that short clips of these recordings can be shared on social media. So that is one thing that I know that together with CPDI, we can promote that, sharing these things so that more and more people will get to know them and understand what the provision is and the rules of the citizens. Because here our concern is the people.
Is the people.
Is the people. To know the Constitution, the provisions of the Constitution, and the roles that we're supposed to play. Number two is just an appeal to Nigerians. You know, wherever you are, you know, make sure you get a copy of the Constitution. Read it. you know, and I'm sure you know a lawyer somewhere around you.
Yeah.
If there's certain things you don't understand, you can consult a lawyer. What does this mean? Explain it to me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very, very important that as many Nigerians as possible get to know the Constitution. You know, read it for yourselves, download it on your phone, buy a copy, read it as often as possible. It will bring enlightenment.
Yeah.
You know, another thing we could do is, you know, as a people, form small groups, small networks where we can come together, because this thing about citizenship, responsibility, and contribution towards making it cannot be overemphasized.
No, not at all.
You know, so as citizens, we can come together in our small groups, you know, and see what we can do together. You know, there are certain areas that are of primary concern to you that you can come together and, you know, deal with those areas. You know, because that is very, very important, that we play our own role as citizens to make sure that this nation goes the right way. We cannot leave everything to government alone. We, the citizens, must wake up, must rise up, step up to the plate and begin to do the things that are within our powers and our capacities to do. The worst thing we can do is give up and say, oh, Nigeria can never be changed. You know, that's a common refrain you hear from some. Now who do us? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nigeria can never change. You know, that's rubbish of the highest.
And even when you try to do what you're doing, some people will still say how much they pay you.
They pay you, they insult you. You know, but the truth is that, you know, like we normally say, you know, every nation that is good today, that Nigerians are running to, if the people of that nation had not built the nation, there was nowhere you would run to. And no nation was born great. Every nation evolved. They transited from whatever they were to whatever they are now. You know, and so these are some of the things we can begin to do.
Okay. So, well, thank you so much for that. I also want to add this to these powerful suggestions you made. I also like on the part of the government, can we make these provisions, this constitution, available in our education system? Starting from crèche, bring it down the way they will understand, from crèche, primary, secondary, and university. And for the universities, institutions and the university system, there should be not just the lawyers. Not just lawyers. It's about citizens. It's not about lawyers. It's not about somebody going to court. So I'm also suggesting that Nigerians and whoever that is in charge and the government should please make this thing available in the universities and make it a compulsory course. You can call it Constitution 101, Constitution 201. In fact, you can break it down 101, 201, 301, 4 until you graduate, and compulsory. If you don't pass, you're not going anywhere. And when you make it compulsory, that people have to go and read, internalize, assimilate, digest, write exam and pass, you will see what's going on. At least let them know. You know, every action begins with knowledge. Let it be that you know. If you're not doing it, it's a different thing. But you know. I think it's like 50% solved. So we cannot talk about the actions when we get there. So that's my own suggestion to that. So thank you so much. Thank you, Leslie, for joining us. And thank you so much for being with us. We have come to the end of this segment on section 17. Part of 17, we still have the last section, our last subsection of 17 to talk about. But this, at least the first part of section 17, of chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You can always follow us in our conversations and actions in order of the programs or sections we've produced in our social handles like you see on the screen. So until we come your way again, please remember that the new Nigeria or a new Nigeria is always possible with the fear of God, love for fundamental objectives and directive principles governing Nigeria, and knowledge and respect of rights and duties of an average Nigerian. So we hope to see you next time. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.